Yo, I don't think we should talk about this.
Come on, why not?
People might misunderstand what we're trying to say, you know? But that's okay.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk.
Queen is giggity.
Making love, baby.
Sexy.
Can we just talk?
You're listening to Pleasurable Noise on the Voice of NASA Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Where we answer all your questions about sex, educate you on the culture behind it. I'm your host, DJ Rocky Lee, here joined by AJ Jones from Love, Lust, and Badass Soul. How you doing, AJ?
I am fantastic.
Are you happy to be here with me?
I am. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
So tell me about you and everything about you. Nobody knows about your podcast on the show because I'm pretty sure you got to look at the area.
Okay. Well, I'm AJ, and I am one half of the dynamic duo of Love, Lust, and Badass Soul. We are a podcast, and we discuss relationships, sex, and everything in between. There's nothing that's taboo when it comes to discussing sex, intimacy between any number of people and whatever the mixes are. I am of Jamaican descent. I was born in Jamaica and I live in Canada. And my co-host CJ was born in Italy, but he was raised in the US. And together we are the team of Love, Lust, and Badass Soul. And interestingly enough, I live in Canada and CJ lives in the US. But you know, we make it work. And we've been doing this for about a year and a half now. And you know, we're all over the place. We're on iTunes, Spotify, our iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, Anchor. Yeah, we're all over the place.
Amazing. And I love listening to your podcast.
Thanks.
And I know you're a fellow Caribbean woman.
Yes, ma'am.
Just like I am. We were talking about it back in the back room about how horrible parents can be.
Yeah, you know, Caribbean parents they're very, how do I say this in a nice way?
Long sigh.
They're very conservative. And I know for a lot of the Caribbean, what do you call it?
I just call them like wardens.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? A lot of their rearing is based in like old British traditions and that sort of old British way where, you know, women wear dresses down to their ankles and they're covered up to, you know, their wrists, and men have to court the woman in a proper type of way, and you have to meet like their mindset is more so like that. So when it comes to things like sex and intimacy and talking openly with their young people and with their children and all that sort of stuff, is just, they don't do it.
They
actually get mad.
Right. I'm like, don't we have? How did you make me? Like, what are you getting mad for?
They pretend like it just didn't happen. Like, they don't even want to talk about it. They don't want you to talk about it. They don't want you to think about it. They don't even, and it's really weird because it's exactly that question, like, Mom, Dad, how did I get here?
Exactly.
But you're not allowed to ask that question because then you're being rude and ota-ada, and you're passing your place as a child, and, you know, you're not supposed to know that. It's kind of like one of those things where they expect the sex just kind of happens, or you just kind of have the knowledge and then that's it. There's no conversation about it.
Oh, yeah, I get that feeling. All right, so explain to me, what is usually the expectations of men in our culture, basically?
That women put up and shut up.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean that, you know, I don't want to give Caribbean men a bad name because not all of them are bad.
No, to me, I feel like it's more of a broader spectrum. I'm more like talking in general. A lot of men growing up have this certain type of mindset due to what they've seen.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like
growing up,
right?
Basically, you know, you are the woman, you cook.
Yes, the girls stay in the house, they cook, they clean, they take care of the house. The boys are allowed to run the street and run rampant and you know, go outside and play with their friends and all those kind of things. And just even as far as sex, it's really strange, right? Because it's like, if you have a young boy that's from the Caribbean and he is sexually promiscuous with girls, then it's bigged up. You know what I mean? Like, he gets like a pat on the back. But then if you're the girl that he's sexually promiscuous with, right, you're gonna get like beaten to no ends. You know what I mean? And chastised and locked in the house. So it's a real crazy kind of double standard. But it's like, women are supposed to just put up with whatever Caribbean men do, and just even as far as relationships, be grateful that you have, you know, somebody that you're with, or grateful that you have a husband, or grateful that you have a provider, even though he may be like a low down dirty dog and have like 3 and 4 other women,
or
you know?
beat you. And I'm just so upset by that concept where you just sit there and it's like, all right, we're going to just pass on the tradition and like the next generation should be like, all right, it's okay. No, I feel like as women we need to step up and be like, no, it's not.
Absolutely. And I think that, your generation, my generations, we are definitely the ones to do that, because it's like our parents are not going to break those kind of traditions. It's kind of like their mentality is, this is how we were raised, this is how my parents were raised, this is how their parents were raised, and it's generational. It goes back and back and back. And as much as they know that it's wrong, as much as they know how it feels, they're not going to do anything about it. So it's definitely left to your generation and my generation to take corrective measures at this point and say like, no, that's not okay, no, that's not acceptable, no, we're not doing that anymore. That was cool when you guys were growing up, but we're not putting up with that foolishness.
So my question to you is, do you think that women should share the workload, or it should be like, okay, so even though I'm working 40 hours a week, I should be cleaning after you, cooking, cleaning, even though you probably work about the same amount of hours and you just get to sit home?
No, I definitely think that and that's the craziest thing. It's like you have women who feel like even though they've busted their ass all week working a 40, 45-hour work week, they probably have kids to go home and take care of. Then on top of that, they still have to mind their husband or mind their man and take care of him, right? I feel like if I'm working as hard as you are, there can be a balance in the house, right? So for example, if I don't get home until 6, but you get home at 4, why are you waiting for 2 hours for me to come home to start cooking? You're able-bodied. There's no reason why you can't throw the chicken in the oven and get the cooking process started. For me personally, I believe in balance. Like I feel like, when you have to cater to someone solely and that's not being reciprocated, it builds resentment. And you have a lot of women who they let it build up, and it gets to that point where it's like
blue control.
Right. You know what I mean? It's like the pot that overflows, and they go berserk, and they're smashing, car windows and keying cars and trying to stab their man and poison him and all these kind of things. It's like, right. So if you just have those conversations beforehand to say like, babe, I'm working till 6 o'clock, when you get home at 4:30, can you put the chicken in the oven? Or, babe, there's a load of laundry in the washing machine. Can you put it in the dryer before I get home and I'll take care of it when you know what I mean? Just building those relationships where there is balance, where there's reciprocity, and where there's give and take. I definitely feel that more than, the woman continuing to be the mule in the relationship. Like there's this misconception that because women are strong, that they should just be strong. Like we're not supposed to be given a break of any kind. We're not supposed to be shown kindness of any kind. We're not supposed to be shown candor and support of any kind because we're strong and we can take it. And that's just some bull.
I feel like that's how my mom is. It's like she's so closed off because she feels like, well, I need to bear the weight of like the world around me. But then like at the end of the day, I feel like that builds resentment even towards your own children at some point.
Yes.
Because it makes it seem like now they're a burden.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
I feel like even as Caribbean women, we should talk about our feelings more, should communicate with these men more and let them know to lay down the ground rules. Look, I need such and such to be done. They can't work with like this whole 90 or in 10% situation where you just bring home some of the money and you get to sit home all day. And
it also has to start with our young as well. Like, there are conversations that parents, especially mothers, need to be having with their sons about household responsibilities. I know with my son, he knows how to cook, he knows how to clean, he does laundry, he irons his clothes. And if I say to him, babe, can I do that for you? He'd be like, no, mom, I'm good, I got it. But that's also how he was raised, to be independent, but also on the flip side of it, never to put yourself in a position where a woman can look at you and say, no, I'm not going to cook dinner tonight because she just feels like being spiteful. In that instance, you can say to her, what, that's okay, babe, I got this. I'll cook dinner tonight. You know what I mean? Or you never have to worry about that self-sufficiency. So the way that I raise my daughter is the same way that I raised my son. There's no divide between the two of them. The responsibilities that she has are the same responsibilities that he has. No one gets a free pass on it. Right. We can't correct our parents. We can't correct our grandparents and our great-grandparents, but we can correct the generation that comes after us by having those kind of conversations with them about reciprocity, about balance and love in relationships, about, taking away that feeling of resentment and being thankful and grateful for the person that you're with and the effort that they put forth.
I agree. You're listening to Pleasurable Noise on the Voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. All right, so do you also believe that showing your worth in the beginning of the relationship, like basically showing that you can cook, clean, dish out, like, because because
I know where you're going with this.
Right. You know where I'm pulling to, basically.
Yeah, it's like if you don't show them what you're coming with, no man is going to want you. And that's a very, very West
I didn't
Indian
learn that
thing.
until later on, after I had my only child right now, because that's how I'm gonna keep it. So I learned that afterwards, that like I showed him that, you know, I could do all of these things, that he felt like, oh well, you know, why do I gotta treat you any better than just like that chick? For what? Like, you already gave me all the wifely's things. Like, why should it change? Why should I complicate things? And I'm like, excuse me? And I'm like, it had nothing, like, because I'm not a really big marriage fan, but I feel like you should treat me in a wifely manner because I am, you know, your child's mother. And he was just like, no, for what? Why should I respect our relationship or, you know, entertain it as such?
See, he's an ass.
Yes, and I figured that out, and then we left each other. So
like, I mean, you have people who don't believe in the strict conventions of a paper type marriage, but they will live in relationships where they to themselves are married, and they treat each other like husband and wife. The father of your child doesn't fall into that category of respect, so we're not going to talk about him. I don't, like, on one hand, I don't think there's wrong with, you know, showing someone what your abilities are. But again, for me, it's about reciprocity. It can't just be that I'm showing you that, you know, yes, I can cook. I'll come over to your house and, you know, I know that you've had a hard day and I'll, you know, do your laundry and fold it up for you so you have it, and, you know, go to the grocery store and pick up some things for you to make sure that your fridge is stocked and all that sort of stuff, and, like, you know, give you the wickedest sex and all them things there, right? So it's like, okay, so if I'm doing that for you, I need to know that, you know, if I've had a long, exhausting week, you're going to come over and say, you know what, babe, let me come over and rub your feet and cook dinner for you, or I bring something for you to eat, or, you know, I know that you're really tired. You know, I picked up these things. I'm going to stock your fridge. I bought you a bottle of wine and a bath bomb. You know, take a bath, and there has to be balance, and there has to be reciprocity. I don't think there's anything wrong with showing your hand, but you also have to be mindful of who you're showing your hand to. That's
how I feel right now. I recently met a guy that, like, he just came into my house. He's like, your fridge is totally empty. I'm like, I haven't had time to restock it because I've been writing the scripts or, like, trying to do my schoolwork and raising my kid, and I'm like, oh my God. So, like, I have, like, no time to, like, you know, just stop and be like, all right, no fast food today. I'm gonna go and, you know, restock my fridge and do this, that, and the third. He comes by, buys me groceries, buys, like, snacks for my kid, and I was just like, wow, like, that's so amazing. But, like, I haven't showed him the side of me where it's like, I don't want to cook for him, like, I don't want to show him, like, the greatest sex, but I'm like, all right, let's take it back and, like, let's not go too far right now, because I don't.
Yeah, you take your time with it, you know. You're also gauging his character, and him doing that shows you a lot about him as a man, and shows you a lot about his character and the way that he cares about you, but not just you, about your son, because your son is an extension of you. And that's a beautiful thing, because you have some men who they'll care about you and not care about your child, you know? So they'll make sure that you're straight, and then they'll be like, well, I'm not his dad, so, like, let his dad take care of that, you know? And it really doesn't have to be that dramatic. Like, I mean, something as simple as buying a box of Capri Suns and some, you know, snacks for him to go to school and whatever. He'd be like the happiest kid on the planet. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that difficult, and it also shows that you understand that I am more than me. I am my children. I am my child as well, you know? So if you can't take that into consideration, and he is not important to you in the way that you want me to be important to you, you and I we can't gel. It's just not possible, you know?
I agree. Now, I was reading an article I found on therealwebmd.com, and basically reasons why men won't give you a ring.
Okay.
So, he's not that into you. And if you don't need him, basically meaning that every man on this earth wants to feel like they're needed.
Yes.
So, how do you feel about that one? Because I feel like a man that doesn't know how to be independent or aside from himself, how do you know how to, you know, stand ground when she breaks away from you?
Yeah, I don't do the clingy latch. My whole thing I say to people all the time is, like, you existed your whole life before me. So how is it now that you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die if I don't see her. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need me for anything. You know, I try to be there for you, but, you know, you always like this. Me being a strong, independent woman has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? You should be a strong, independent man, and we should be able to come together as a strong couple, where our independence matches one another and we are a balance for one another. So the places where I fall short, you pick up, and the places where you fall short, I pick up. If it has to be all the time where, oh, you don't need me for anything. Every time I try to do something for you, you don't need, just do it. You know what I mean? If you're asking me every 5 seconds, oh, hey, can I do this? Or hey, can I do that? When, like, hey, can I take out the garbage? Like, if you know the garbage has to be taken out, just take it out. Why are you asking me? You know what I mean? It's just those little things about independence. Or like, you know, you look in the fridge, again, the example, right? And you see that I don't have groceries. Why would you say to me, hey, do you want me to go to the store and pick you up some stuff? My fridge is echoing. Do you think that maybe you should just go and pick up some stuff? Like, and that's what I mean about the independence. It like, I shouldn't have to walk you through everything step by step, just like you shouldn't have to walk me through everything step by step. You know, women need men. We just need men who are present and who are aware and who are mindful and who take time to understand us and get it. You know, it's not that we are, you know, everyone wants to champion being the independent woman. It just is the role that we've been forced into. And believe you me, a lot of us would like to not be in that role and be with somebody that you can actually rely on and know that they are reliable.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm really learning that right now.
Yeah. It's a big deal. Like, a lot of men will pay lip service and say, yeah, they're going to be there, but when you actually need them, they're not there, you know? And then they want to turn around and say, oh, well, you don't need me for anything. It's okay. When I did need you, you weren't there. So I still had to do it by myself. So if I know that I can do it by myself, especially in a moment of crisis when I actually needed you, why would I continue to wait to, you know, for you to be there? Be reliable from the get-go. Be consistent from the get-go. You know, don't give me a reason to say, you know what? Nah, I got it. I'll do it myself. It's okay.
You're listening to Pleasurable Noise on the Voice of NASA Community College 90.3 WHPC. All right, the next one is you're an urgent dater and he's just dating. Right. So yeah. I feel like that excuse is more like he wants to be in a non-monogamous relationship and he's just not telling you. Or he's just seeing someone else.
Yeah, and you know, okay, so CJ and I talk about this on the podcast about the spectrum of dating. And you have dating where it's casual, you guys are going out together every now and again to see whether or not you have enough interest to pursue it into going out on a more regular basis. Unfortunately, for us as women, you know, there's a large group of us who are interested. I take myself out of that category, but I'm just saying us. There's a large group of us who are interested in getting married and settling down. You know, I think we've gotten back into that mindset of, you know, have your career first and then look for a husband, build a family, settle down, yada, yada, yada. And so there's a large group of women who I would say are between like 30 to 40 who are now looking to settle down and find their husband and to be in that space of creating families where men on the flip side that are in that age category, they're still taking their time in trying to find someone. And so for them, they take dating a lot slower than women. Like, we meet a guy, he's got, you know, great personality, he's gainfully employed, he's got, you know, the package is good, the sex is good, you know, he's got the right height, he's got the right build, he's got all his teeth, he's got, you know, health insurance, he doesn't have a bag of pick-me running behind him, he doesn't live with his mom. We're interested in being in a relationship because you're a good candidate. You know what I mean? Whereas guys would be like, nah, I want to wait.
Exactly.
You know, I want to see if when we have sex a couple more times, if it's really good, or, you know, that's when they want to know, like, can you cook?
That's terrible.
You know, it is, but it's like, you know, I don't know, it's almost like a race to the finish line and who's going to get there first kind of thing, right? I think a lot of guys are really scared about the prospect of settling down into a relationship and just settling down in general, whereas women, I think at a certain age, we're more keen on what it is that we want and where it is that we're headed. And I don't think men get there until, honestly, I don't feel like they get there until like they're later in their 30s and into their early 40s. And some just never get there.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. I think my baby Zaddy's almost in his 40s and he hasn't learned that lesson.
Right, you see what I'm saying? Like, it just, for some of them, they just never get there and they feel like they're going to be missing out on the world of vagina if they settle down with one woman. You know what I mean? Instead of developing a really great sex life with one person, they're more interested in not having the attachments and entanglements, you know, of being in a relationship with one person. They want to just kind of like jump from, you know, vagine to vagine and see what's happening. Sorry.
Vagine for vagine.
Yeah, that's what I call it, like vagine. So CJ says the peen, which is the peen, and I say the vagine. So, you know,
that's a new one. I gotta add that to my book.
The peen and the vagine.
My favorite one's Oprah's vajayjay.
Right. The vajayjay.
The vajayjay.
Yes.
All right. So the next one is you're already somewhat married. What kind of? I think that's what excuse my dad used until it didn't work no more with my stepmom. And she was like, you know what? I think 4 months later, she moved in with this new dude, and apparently she was pregnant. I was like, oh no, it's like some Maury thing.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where, you know, people are not having enough conversation about the status of their relationship. I think it's one of those things too, where sometimes people move in for the convenience of sharing space, sharing the builds, you know, building personal wealth, and just having kind of whatever relationship results as a result of living together. You have some people on one hand who, again, they're not into conventional marriage, but they deem one another to be husband and wife. I don't think that that's what this is talking about. I think this is talking about the people who, you know, we've been together for 2 years. It makes sense for us to live together. Why do we have 2 places? It doesn't make sense to do that. Let's just move in together. Let's share the bills and split everything down the middle. And then that way both of us can save some money. And you just kind of go through life like that. You know, at some point you fall into that rhythmic situation of being like an old married couple, because you're doing everything that married couples do, except you're just not talking about marriage, and nobody's put it on the table, and no one's saying, okay, well, you know, maybe we should be doing this, or maybe we should make this a little bit more official. The bad thing that ends up happening without having those conversations is like, okay, you know, I'm with CJ, we're in a relationship, we've decided to combine our households, but CJ's still dating.
Right.
You know, because we haven't made a firm commitment. Now I feel like we've moved in together, so that's the commitment when we've never actually had a conversation. And in truth, he would be right, because we never had a discussion saying, okay, as much as we've moved in together and we've decided to combine our households, does this now make us exclusive? Like, what's the next step? A lot of people are taking those leaps and boundaries without talking about what the next step is going to be, so that when someone, you know, in the relationship messes up, it's like everybody's ready to get up in arms, and then like there's this whole big kerfuffle and fight about, okay, well, you know, we're supposed to be get together. We've been living like a married couple. Living like a married couple and being a married couple, even without the conventional confines of being a married couple, are 2 very different things. You can't give title to something that you haven't had a conversation with someone about. It's like, you know, if somebody walks up to you and gets down on one knee with a ring, they're asking you to be their wife. That's the conversation that's, you know, that you have with people. No one has those other conversations about, okay, you know, are we exclusively dating now? Are we exclusively sleeping together now? Does this mean, you know, like, what's happening? Like,
I feel like sometimes they do have that conversation, but yet they'll defer that conversation and like make it seem like, well, it doesn't need to happen right now. We can talk about other things.
Yeah, no, people need to stop doing that, because then you're playing games. And it's unnecessary. It's like the adage of wanting to have your cake and eat it too. You know, I get it, but there's still a greater conversation that needs to happen, especially if you're combining households and what that expectation is. Because, you know, if you and I live together now, I have a different expectation than when we were living in separate places. When you were in your own place, you could come and go as you feel like and do whatever it is you felt like doing. Now we're in the same house. I'm not expecting you to stay out till 4 o'clock in the morning. Because one, I'm going to worry more. You know what I mean? 2, there's the loneliness factor. 3, why would you need to be out till them godforsaken hours of, you know what I mean?
Right.
The dynamics change when you're in the same space and you're living, you know, the quote unquote married life, even if you're not married.
I agree. Oh, so what if he gives you the excuse that like you're afraid that you'll leave him in the end? Like, you know, all marriages end in divorce.
That's a bunch of bull. Because there are people who have been married for, you know, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20, 50 years. When someone wants to leave, it has nothing to do with the marriage. They're leaving because they want to leave. They're leaving because they're no longer compatible with the person. They're leaving because their needs are no longer being met. They leave because they're tired of being frustrated. They leave because they're done. Marriage doesn't change or make or break things. You know what I mean? That's in any relationship. I could be your girlfriend and get fed up with you and decide that we're not moving in the same direction, or I've outgrown you and we're no longer together. You know what I mean? That's idiotic for anybody to say that marriages end in divorce, so why get married? That's stupid. That's absolutely stupid.
What if you're not his first choice?
Don't do it. No, honestly, I feel like there would be underlying resentment because you're not the person that he actually wants. And he's forcing you into a role of trying to make you into that person, and he may grow to love you.
Wow.
But if you're not his first choice, he doesn't initially love you, and that should be concerning.
I agree. I've been in that situation where I've allowed him to basically say, you know what, I don't know if I want to be with you, but like you can stay and, you know, see how
don't do that to yourself, girl. You're selling yourself short.
I know, I've done that. I was like, I got over that. I'm trying to do better, so Hopefully.
But you know what? I mean, you're not even wrong, and I don't wrong. I feel like as women, we do that because we feel like, I know that I'm enough. He'll eventually see that I'm enough, and he'll fix up, or he'll do better, or he'll come around, or he'll eventually see that I'm the one that he should have been with. And when we try to convince ourselves of those things, it's self-defeating, and you're setting yourself up for failure. When someone tells you you're not actually the person that they want to be with, but you can stick around, you need to, I don't know if I can say it on air, but you need to tell them I'm good. I don't, I'm good.
Keep it PG-13
Yes,
here.
absolutely. You just tell them, you know what, I'm good. We can be friends, and you keep it at that, because that person doesn't have the same emotional intentions towards you that you may have towards them.
But what if we can't be friends? What if,
Then you know what? You cut ties. It's like I've said to my daughter, not everybody on the planet is going to like you, and that's okay. And they're in a sea of almost 8 billion people. Not everyone is going to like you, and not everyone is going to be your friend, and that's okay. You don't owe anybody anything. You're not obligated to anyone. Your first priority is yourself. Your first safeguard is yourself. Making sure that you are emotionally, mentally, and physically well should always be your first priority.
I agree. Okay, so it's pretty much the end of the show right now. So at the end of the show, however, we usually do this word of the day situation. So kind of sit back and I guess me wait and put my drum roll on first. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, drum roll, please.
I like
All
that.
right. So the word of the day is non-monogamy. Yay! I'm such a dork. Anyways,
No, you're not. It was
so
actually cute.
non-monogamy is basically anything outside of the conventional marriage. You can't if it's threesomes. What is that? What else?
Polyamory.
Is that? Yes.
Open relationships, open dating.
Tell us anything that you have going on. Last minute plugins. Anything?
Oh, sorry. So we just finished our first live event, which was in Washington, D.C. It was a great event. We are now in the throes of planning our second live event, which is, I can't even say the title because it's got a cuss word in it, but it's under the it's under the name of Love, Lust, and Badass Soul. It will be taking place in Atlanta on Saturday, July the 27th. We will be going live with ticket sales on Eventbrite in a couple of weeks, and there'll be a flyer for anyone who wants to check it out. Again, you can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker. The title of our podcast is Love, Lust, and BAS, Badass Soul. You can also follow us on Twitter at Love, Lust, and BAS. And we're also on Instagram.
If you like what you heard and want to hear more, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts and click subscribe to listen to full versions of this show. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or you want to show the show some love, add me at DJ Rocky Lee Savage on Instagram and Twitter, as well as the show page. And if that just doesn't work for you, email me at pleasureablenoise@gmail.com. That's pleasureablenoise@gmail.com. I'll give you a stripper name if I decide to read your question aloud on the show. Bye-bye for now. Thank you for listening to Pleasurable Noise on the Voice of NASA Community College, 90.3 WHPC.